Hey guys, so Pokken's been out for almost a week now and I've been exploring some of the deeper mechanics of the game. One thing that stood out to me as incredibly important to look into was Pokken's unique system of changing between the two different styles of play, field mode and duel mode, specifically what mechanics trigger the transition between the two. Transitioning from field mode to duel mode is pretty simple. Some moves, mostly big hits, will trigger a shift into duel phase when they land, others won't. For example, Pikachu's uncharged Thunderbolt will always trigger a phase shift if it connects. His charged Thunderbolt, Thunder, and his neutral and side range attacks never will, no matter how many times you do them. You could spend an entire match in field mode pestering your opponent with these attacks until you eventually kill them, without ever triggering a phase shift. As such, how long the field phase lasts is entirely in the hands of the players. Transitioning from the duel phase to the field phase though is where things start to get interesting. Phase shifting from the duel phase doesn't work the same way as phase shifting from the field phase at all. Rather than being triggered every time by certain moves, duel phase will instead end when a certain threshold has been reached. So what is this threshold based on? The natural assumption would probably be that it must be based off the damage you've done to your opponent, however this isn't actually the case. For a while now on screen I've been showing footage of some combos I was trying in training mode. The point of these is to show you that you can do different amounts of damage in the duel phase and the phase shift will trigger at different times regardless of the moves used or the damage done. So what is actually causing the duel phase to end? Here's the answer. When you and your opponent enter the duel phase, an invisible counter is set up by the game. This counter starts at 0 and ends at 12. We call this phase points. You and your opponent both have your own separate phase point counters. When one of these counters reaches 12, a phase shift will occur. So the important question is, what exactly causes the counter to rise? The answer is very simple. Almost all of your Pokemon's moves, if they hit the opponent, cost phase points. For example, Pikachu's uncharged Thunderbolt costs 3 phase points. That is to say, each time you hit your opponent with it, their total phase points will increase by 3. This means you can hit your opponent with Thunderbolt 4 times in one duel phase, and the 4th one will trigger a phase shift as it brings your opponent's phase points to 12. Charged Thunderbolt, on the other hand, costs 4 phase points, meaning just 3 of them will trigger a phase shift. This is an important system to understand because it allows you to optimize your combos. By looking at the damage of a move and how much phase points it costs, you can find out a move's phase point efficiency, that is, its ratio of damage to phase points spent. Using moves with the highest phase point efficiency will allow you to optimize what you can get out of the duel phase. Knowledge of this system can also be very tactical outside of just knowing the most efficient combos. For example, if I did a combo on my opponent that didn't end duel phase, and I know they have a high phase point counter, say 11 points, I know that the next hit will definitely trigger a phase shift, and therefore it's not worth trying to get up close to start another combo. So in this case it would be better for me to just fish for a safe projectile hit, like Thunderbolt, instead. So, getting the most out of duel phase comes down to using your phase points the right way. However, what if I told you there was a way to reset the phase points you have on your opponent, so that you could combo them all over again without leaving the duel phase? You probably already know that going into burst mode will blow your opponent back if they're near you when you activate it. What you probably don't know is that hitting your opponent with this shockwave actually resets their phase point counter. We'll call this a burst reset for now. There's 2 important drawbacks to this, however. The first is that going into burst mode will also reset your own phase points. This means that if the opponent just comboed you and you then get up and activate burst mode, they can combo you all over again. I imagine plenty of people have probably done this without knowing, only to make things worse for themselves. The second drawback is if the opponent blocks the burst mode activation shockwave or is too far away for it to hit in the first place, their phase points won't reset, but yours still will, which is even worse for you. It'd be great if there was a way to make sure they get hit by that shockwave, wouldn't it? What if you could, like, combo into it or something? Yep, that's something you can do. So, now that we've put the pieces of this puzzle together, let me give you a demonstration of how much damage you can actually get out of the duel phase with proper knowledge of phase points and burst reset.